Shana Tova. I too want to add my sincere thanks to Jeff, both for continuing on the leadership that Naomi began during this pandemic and continuing forward to keep our doors open, to keep our lights on, to keep the air conditioning flowing, the heat in the right season. And I want to thank you all for continuing to have faith in our community that we continue to not only survive, but thrive. We are, in fact, an extraordinary community with resources that are deep and wide. And I am incredibly grateful to the Almighty for the opportunity to continue to lead this community alongside Cantor May, who clearly doesn't care what I have to say this morning. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. We love Cantor May. It's good that she's left for a minute so I can talk about her. She does bring an extraordinary sense of warmth and capacity to the role of Cantor. It's not an easy job to work alongside me, and she does so with grace and with kindness and with patience and with extreme skill. If you haven't had a chance to get to know her because she arrived during the pandemic, you really should take the time to get to know her. Because of her personality, she probably won't seek you out. So if you want to have a true treasure in your life, seek her out and make an appointment. Spend some time with her. Your light will be lit and your life will be enhanced. So as long as she's not here right now, I do want to do a little singing. In the years past, I've asked her to sing alongside me, but I was afraid she didn't know this song because she's very young. So the song goes like this. Hello, my name is Mr. Ed. Now, I'm not going to sing the whole thing, right? Because there's a couple paragraphs in the song that are too difficult for me to sing because truth is, I was also very young when the show was on, though I did love it. So those of you who do know it, even if especially if you're at home, you should sing it because no one can hear you. I was supposed to wave hello to a couple people at home, so hi. You know who you are, of course. All right, so here it goes. You ready? A horse is a horse, and no one can talk to a horse, of course. That is, of course, unless the horse is the famous Mr. Ed. Go right to the source and ask the horse. He'll give you the answer that you'll endorse. He's always on a steady course. Talk to Mr. Ed. All right, let's just stop there. And then there's a couple more, but the truth is, it's already lost its fun. But I do want to say that I love that show because the concept of a talking horse was nothing new to me. I know that they believed on television that they had made up the idea of a talking four-legged creature, but we already knew of talking donkeys. And we knew of a talking snake. And so the idea that an animal could talk, which is an idea that has enthralled people for a long time, from the beginning of Dr. Dolittle until today, we still love the concept of an animal being able to talk. There are movies that abound with pets that speak to each other, animals that are in zoos that plan their escape. And we recognize all the while we wish we could know what was actually going on in their heads. I know I have a dog named Tamale, and I often wonder what she thinks. She comes to shul with me. She counsels. It's true. Those of you who have sat in my office and have been very upset, and she's gone over and laid her head on your lap, you know what it feels like. But this year I saw an amazing movie. One I'm sure that many of you have seen, and if you haven't, you should go see it. In the movie, Craig Foster makes an amazing observation. A lot of people say an octopus is like an alien. But the strange thing is, as you get closer to them, you realize that we are very similar in a lot of ways. They're directed by Pippa Ehrlich and James Reed, and won the award for Best Documentary Feature. My Octopus Teacher documents a year spent by filmmaker Craig Foster forging a relationship with a common octopus in the South African kelp forest. Foster began free diving in cold water of the kelp forest at a remote location in what's called False Bay near Cape Town, South Africa. The location was near Simon's Town.
That's why that's there. And he's saying
The location was near his hometown on the Cape Peninsula, which was exposed to the cold of Benguela current of the Atlantic Ocean. He started to document his experiences, and in time met a curious young octopus that captured his attention. The film shows Foster's growing intimate relationship with the octopus as he follows her around for nearly a year. They form a bond where she plays with Foster and allows him into her world to see how she sleeps, to see how she lives, and to see how she eats. She has to defend herself from pajama sharks, and in one attack, his friend the octopus loses an arm. And she retreats to her den to recover. And slowly her arm regenerates over the next 3 months. In later shark attacks, she shows an incredible improved creativity to survive, including sticking at one moment to a shark's back. Later, after mating with a male octopus and producing a large number of eggs, she dies naturally while tending to her eggs, and then a shark carries her body away. Foster describes the effect of this mentor-like relationship with the octopus and all that she taught him, teaching him lessons of the fragility of life and humanity's connection with nature. This transfers to Foster's creating a deeper bond with his son, and his son develops as a diver as well. And he becomes a student of marine life. Craig Foster remarked, "What she taught me was to feel that you're part of this place, not a visitor. That's a huge difference. That we're part of this place. We're not just visitors." That could be an entire sermon. That you're not visitors here. You're part of this place. But that's not my message for today, though it is incredibly important to internalize. There's nothing I want more for all of us who are here today than to feel that you are a part of the very fabric of this institution. You're not a visitor. After a year plus away, you should feel this is a homecoming. You don't need to go far. You don't need to travel or to explore. You don't need to take flight to soar. Here you can explore your soul and you can let your feelings soar. The truth is, though we are fascinated by animals and their ability to communicate with us, whether it is a lion in The Wizard of Oz, or Dr. Dolittle talking to the animals, or even one of my favorite shows growing up, Mr. Ed, or it's a snake that talks to Adam and Eve, or a donkey that tries to prevent Bilam from cursing the people. It is one story in the Talmud that I want to share with you this morning that is so bizarre, so strange, so out of the ordinary for our rabbis that it's hard not to feel the fanciful levity of this story. So the story goes as follows. There's a donkey of Rabbi Pinchas who was stolen by thieves at night. It remained in hiding with them for 3 days and would not eat a thing. And of course, we begin to imagine as we read the story that the reason why the animal wouldn't eat was because it had been taken from its owners. And it was depressed. We can imagine that. It makes sense. And therefore, it wasn't willing to touch its food. They said, let's send her to her master so she won't die with us and ruin our cave. They sent her out, and she went out and stood outside her master's gate and started to bray. He said to them, open the gate for that poor creature that hasn't eaten anything in 3 days. They opened the gate for her, and she came in, and he said to them, give her something to eat. Then placed before her some barley. But she didn't want to eat. They said to him, Master, she doesn't want to eat. He said to them, has the food been properly tithed? They said to him, yes. He said to them, have you taken the demai, that is the tithes that are taken just in case you didn't take the tithe? You see why I'm enjoying this story. I see why you have blank faces. They said to him, but has not the master taught us one who buys produce for planting or to feed domesticated animals or to use as flour for hides or for lamp oil or oil for anointing utensils is exempt from demai? So Rav Pinchas said to them, what can we do with this poor one? She's so strict. And so they took demai, and the animal ate. See the story? No, you don't. What's going on? Hello? The story is a story about an animal that is well versed in Jewish law, understanding full well that in order for you to be able to participate in eating of produce, you have to take off a piece. And he wasn't willing to eat until he was sure. It's reminiscent of a friend of mine. No, it's not a friend. I'm just making that up to say it's part of a joke. It's reminiscent of a story of a man who goes up to heaven. He's very, very strict in Jewish law. And he goes up to God and he says, so who's in charge of the rabbinic supervision here? God says, I am. I'm God. Man says, well, I'll have a fruit platter. The donkey teaches. It's not interested in dying. It's not interested in doing anyone harm. It just wants to teach. The key words of the story is Macharta Lamara Amrin. He came to teach. Nishlacha Lamara. He was sent to teach. The story is so bizarre, but the lesson is so simple. And that is that the animal in the story, like the story of Bilam, like the story of the snake, like the story of Mr. Ed, like the story of the cowardly lion, they're all sent to teach a lesson. The snake in the negative, but the others in the positive, are sent to teach a lesson. I teach a course over at Mercy College in world religion. And I always begin the course with indigenous religions. And they teach as follows. The natural world or environment was not viewed then as separate or separable entities, but as a whole that included humans and other animals. As intelligent, thoughtful beings, they felt a moral responsibility to respect and care for the other elements of the natural world, including animals. Many indigenous people believe that they continue to believe that animals have spirits and that animals give their bodies to provide food, fur, and other materials for humans. The taking of an animal's life was and is a sacred act. We too have always felt that way. But let me be clear, this is not a sermon about climate change, though it could have easily gone in that direction. It's not about the damage we're doing to our world, though it's abundantly clear. This is not a sermon about how we ought to preserve our world or we will no longer be able to inhabit it. This is a sermon about learning from animals about how to treat each other. It's so simple. You know the phrase from our tradition, Lo tevashel gedi b'chalev imo, don't cook a kid in its mother's milk. It's supposed to engender within us a sense of kindness. We recognize that we are carnivores. So many of us eat meat. We recognize that the Torah, had we lived up to its ideal, would have had us be vegetarians, but we're not. Though those of us who are should be inspiring role models for all of us. But Lo tivakchel gedi b'chalev imo says the milk is the life-giving force. Don't mix the death and destruction that we wrought on that animal by cooking it in the life-giving force that sustained it. Maimonides once taught us, don't eat an animal you're not willing to kill yourself. We have become so distant from our food source that it doesn't take a single thought to think about what has happened to that animal to get it to our table. Our tradition has always taught that kashrut has a myriad of rationales. But at its very base and core level, it says, learn kindness. Be gentle. Kashrut's not only about what we do to the animal, it's also about what that animal does to us. It's not only about slaughter. It's also about preparation. It's about how we feel. I've had my dog now 10 years. Just the other night, we had the most close bonding experience I think we've ever had. As the waters filled our house in the aftermath of Hurricane Ida, and we were evacuated, I grabbed my dog. I told Sharon to come along, but I grabbed my dog. I'm kidding, Sharon. And seriously, she's on her own. But I grabbed my dog and we waded through the water and we got to the fire truck, this SUV that would take us to safety. And she was shivering. And I thought about all the life lessons she's taught me. There are many, 30, 40 of them, but I'll just share a few of them with you now. It's okay sometimes to just eat and sleep. When you fall down, get up, shake it off, and forget about it and go on. Be very brave no matter your size. Make your own fun. Unleash your talent. Learn new tricks no matter your age. Make new friends. I wouldn't suggest you make new friends the way she does. That's a visual. You'll have to come up with that one on your own. Here's one of my favorite. When a loved one comes home, always run to greet them. At the end of the day, it's just best to snuggle no matter what's happened that day. Every day is a new day. Just be happy. If we can learn kindness for those lower on the food chain, we can learn kindness for each other. If we can develop compassion for animals, we most certainly can develop compassion for each other. If we learn patience for creatures big and small, we can learn patience for each other. If we can love a pet, we can love each other. The message is twofold. Lilmod ulilamed. To learn these lessons and then to teach them to others. Lishmor v'la'asot. To guard them and then to do them. We must learn from our world. It's begging us to take notice of our world. It's talking to us. We can't ignore it. We must guard it, and we have to do something about it. According to a Pew study, 2/3 of Americans, that's about 65%, say their best guess is that intelligent life exists on other planets. So I guess that's one of the reasons why Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk are working on space travel. Blue Origin and Virgin Atlantic, Jeff Bezos and Richard Branson, along with a few guests, went to space this summer, and it was a thrill to watch. I'll be honest with you. As the reporter spoke of the rumble he could feel in his chest as the thunderous roar of the rocket engines, it gave me goosebumps. For the first time, I thought, well, when we have completely ruined our planet, at least we'll have someplace to go. That is, of course, if the cost comes down. Otherwise, just the super wealthy will be able to go. And the rest of us will remain here to be overtaken by wildfires and an ice age of sorts. The thrill of space immediately turned to thoughts of our own planet Earth. They described what it looked like to see Earth from so far up. But it was a reminder to me that, like The Wizard of Oz, like the book The Alchemist, even baseball, sometimes you got to go away from home to return to home. And then they say, everything we need is right here at home. So I say to you, as exciting as it was to watch rockets soar into space, I'm less concerned with what goes on out there and more concerned with what goes on right here. Right now, in this holy place, we have to change the nature of the way people talk to each other. We have to change the way we interact with one another. It can't be about political conversations. It's got to be about connections. One of the great phrases I heard this summer was given to us by Brene Brown. We ought to spend less time talking about each other and more time talking to each other. We have to find a way. It's necessary, it's urgent, it's difficult, it's important, it's critical that we learn to get along with each other. You remember the book by Dr. Seuss, The Starbelly Sneetches. There's some who had stars on their bellies and some that had none upon theirs. We can't be communities divided by mask or not, vaccine or not. We can't be a community that's divided by Democrat, Republican, Independent. We can't be a Jewish community divided by Hasidim and Orthodox and Conservative and Reform and New Age and spiritual. We have to find a way, la'asot agudah achat, to become one people. We can't be divided by race or ethnicity, religion or creed. We must find a way to come together. I know we have today those who are here and those who are at home. I pray someday soon we're all back together here in this building, in this sanctuary, in this holy place, because we're not going anywhere. Shana Tova. We continue with the Chatzi Kaddish. It's introducing the Musaf. Page 123, please rise.